And we're just about to get underway with game number 2 of the '98 USHA Collegiate National Championships. David Chapman taking on Chris Rusing. And here's David with the first serve. Looks like he's going to be changing sides for his service.
Got a cross-court lob going instead of a lob straight down the wall. The result is the same. He's trying to get his opponent to hit it to the ceiling. You see Chris made an error there in the front court.
It's like Chris trying to take a page out of David's book with that shovel shot into the left-hand corner, and you can see that's a difficult shot. Chris really executed that poorly and put the ball right on the floor.
Second serve for David.
David's trying to take Chris out of that offensive attack that helped him win the first game. So now he's going to try and slow the game down, take Rusing off track.
That ball looked to me like it skipped in.
I think the referee agreed with you, calling a point for David Chapman.
It's a nice kill shot from deep court for David Chapman.
Seems to me like David is hitting the ball harder these days. I think he's bulked up a little bit.
Well, you know, he's not getting any younger. He's going to drink beer.
It's a great cross-court kill from Chris Rusing. Had David back in the left corner, so he shot it up in the front of the left corner, and Chapman couldn't get to it.
Chris seems to favor that shot. He's got so much power from the rear court.
There's a nice exchange in the front court. Chris was able to take two shots at killing the ball in the front court. David did make a nice return of his first offensive shot, but Chris was right there to take advantage of the setup that David left him with.
The more times that Chapman forces Chris to kill the ball, the more tired Chris is going to be as the match wears on. So it's to David's advantage to keep returning those kill shots.
Chris is really playing quite remarkable. I know he's never had this kind of success before against David, actually having taken a game off him. First time that's ever happened, too.
Chris is playing very well. David's strategy doesn't seem to have changed much. He's really being very consistent with his serve and with his shots that he's hitting at Chris. And Chris was very hot in the first game. Let's see if he can continue that pace here in the second game.
I think David has it in the back of his mind that Chris isn't going to be able to kill the ball for the entire match, so he's hoping for a couple Rusing misses here.
You see that Chris is working hard for a lot of his shots. He's moving around the court well. David is steady. This match is sort of taking on the appearance of the tortoise and the hare.
I've always said that handball is a small man's game, and David Chapman's definitely smaller in stature than Rusing is, so he doesn't have to work as hard to move around the court.
Well, John, how do you feel about that? You're 6'3", 6'4".
I always felt it was a disadvantage to be as tall as I was because I couldn't get my long legs and arms out of the way when I was up in the front court and the ball was coming off the front wall quickly at me. So that's why I felt more comfortable hanging around in the back court. And Chris is actually a similar style player. He likes to shoot the ball from deep in the back court.
He actually does remind me a bit of you when you were playing the game.
Well, I'm a little better looking than Chris, though.
No comment?
These players work so hard that they're sweating so much. Every time they hit the floor, they have to wipe it up. It gets so wet.
We talked earlier about the controversy surrounding this game, or this tournament, I should say, the fact that we have professional players competing at the collegiate level. And we heard from Coach Mike Dow of Lake Forest College. Both you gentlemen went to Lake Forest. I'm curious to know how you see it. Jonathan, what's your take on it?
Well, of course, my allegiance is with Mike Dow and Lake Forest College. But I really spent a lot of time at this tournament this week, and I haven't heard any complaints from any of the players. I think that David made the point that a lot of the kids really look forward to competing against him and seeing him this close. And so as long as the other players aren't complaining, I say let David play.
We're having a great rally here. Great front court exchange. Chapman gets the setup, but he kind of leaves another setup for Rusing, and he finishes off with a great kill with his left hand.
Chris Rusing continuing to play well, but David Chapman making inroads of his own. We'll be back with more of the Men's Open Championship game number 2 in a moment. Welcome back to the USHA Collegiates. Ben Thum along with my colleagues, James Comstoft and John Kendler, as we watch David Chapman of SMSU in the finals against Chris Rusing of the University of Washington. Here's Chris serving. He's got 2 points to David's 4 in the second game.
David's down 1-0 here early in the second game, and both players probably still trying to feel each other out to see what pace they're going to come out at. Chris was set up there in the front court that misses a little bit, and David able to take advantage of that.
Let's take a look at this in slow motion. That was quite a rally.
Chris again taking a ball from deep in the left side with his left hand, trying to shoot the ball. Done a good job of making David backpedal here. You can see David falling away backwards, just really trying to flip the ball to the ceiling to buy some time. And Chris sees that this is a weak return, and he's going to jump up here and try and put it away. Might have tried to get a little too cute here, hitting the ball sidewall front. Might have been better off just hitting that ball down low, almost in front of his feet. Then the worst thing that could happen is he would have got a hinder on it if he didn't roll it out.
Yeah, it turns out that's going to really cost him there, because David hit a brilliant shot.
Chapman made a great get in the front court there, and he pushed Rusing in the back, and Rusing had nowhere to go, and he just hits it in the back wall, and it doesn't make the front, so he's out of luck.
And so David Chapman comes up to serve at 4-2 in the second game of the Men's Open Finals.
Chapman's returning to his standard lob serve. Rusing's going on offense right away with that, and he rolls it out with his left hand from deep court.
I'd like to have had a radar gun on that. That ball was traveling.
David doesn't even really make an attempt to try and return this ball, because when it hits the front wall, it doesn't even bounce. It just rolled out.
I think David probably hit the serve a little harder than he wanted to, so it came off the back wall, and it gave Chris a chance to swing sidearm with his left hand.
He really set up beautifully on that. He had all the time in the world. And I guess when you give a player of that caliber so much time, he can do an awful lot with it.
There, Chris took a kill shot from deep court, and it was a little bit too deep, and he ended up skipping it in, so Chapman gets a serve back.
Something we haven't seen, lob serve to the right-hand side of the court.
Take a look at here, Chapman running up into the front court after Rusing tried to kill the ball. Makes a nice get, just barely gets it before the second bounce, and hits a nice re-kill in the front court. Rusing's so far deep that he can't get up in time to get it.
And we are back at courtside with David Chapman serving to Chris Rusing. Scores 5-2. Second game.
Another nice kill shot for David Chapman. Seems like he's starting to get on a roll here. He's starting to distance himself from Rusing with the 4-point lead.
David seems to have found a nice little change of pace with that lob serve to the right-hand side. Chris needs to take that ball and put it right back on David's left-hand side with a shot to the ceiling or maybe a hard driving pass shot.
Chapman's getting just what he wants. He gets it set up on the right. He jams Rusing. Rusing's so tall he can't react to that ball in the front court quick enough.
I think David was concerned about the applause that Chris was getting. He'd like the SMSU guys to give him a little noise too.
It's kind of funny because the SMSU team is such a larger team than the University of Washington. It seems like he should have more fans, but he wins all the time. Everybody wants to root for the underdog.
I guess you have a point there.
And displaying his deep court offensive skills right there. Shot down the left, and Chris Rusing, that's smart. He's been usually trying to shoot that ball in the front court, but this time, for a change of pace, he hit it down the wall.
James, I know you were in the semifinals of the Collegiates for 4 years in a row. What are your thoughts on professional players playing in the Collegiates?
Well, I've always believed that a tournament should do whatever it can do to get the best possible players that it has, but I think what Coach Dow was alluding to, and something that I kind of agree with, is that David Chapman has become so good. He dominates play so much that it almost becomes kind of silly for him to want to play against someone that he's so much better than. And in his first 3 years of winning the Collegiates, he never even lost a game. It wasn't even close.
Here we'll get to see an instant replay of that last rally where both players had an opportunity to put the ball away, but it's David Chapman that capitalizes on the mistakes of Chris Rusing. Here both players trying to drive the ball by each other. David sets up nicely for a back wall shot, and instead of killing it, he's going to pull it to the left-hand side of the court and get Chris Rusing running after the ball.
Here again, Chris is going to try and hit the ball into the back wall, sending it forward into the front court. And it's a shot that keeps him in the rally, but the problem is it gives David an easy setup in the front court.
And once again, another passing shot, and this time Chris gets another tour of the court, and David picks up a point.
Back to the lob serve down the left-hand side.
Rusing's his errors are starting to mount, and Chapman's starting to build the lead here in the second game.
Probably a sign of fatigue. Chris has spent a lot of energy chasing after Chapman pass shots in the first game.
That was a setup. Chapman gave Rusing a setup on the serve, and Rusing wasn't able to capitalize, hit the ball into the floor. shooting that lob serve to the right side now on the second serve, the end result is the same. Another kill shot for Chapman.
That's a tough shot out of the left corner, even for a right-handed player.
We'll be right back with more of the Men's Open Championship right after this. And we're back with game number 2 of the 1998 USHA Collegiate Handball Tournament, with David Chapman of SMSU playing Chris Rusing of the University of Washington. These guys are also pro players, and there's a bit of a controversy about that at this tournament. David serving Chris 10-3. You know, James, when you were playing for Lake Forest, you were also on the pro tour, were you not?
Yeah, I was just starting to break onto the pro tour my junior and senior years, and there were a number of players in the collegiates as this year that were up and coming players who were just trying to break onto the tour. And I think that it adds something to the tournament to have that caliber of a player, but when you get to be as good as David Chapman, it becomes kind of pointless for him to go out and win the collegiates every year because you know he's going to win. It'd be like if the Chicago Bulls went and played in the NCAA tournament. It'd be kind of silly.
It's a nice exchange there where both players had their chances to put the rally away. We're going to get a chance to view this on the instant replay here. And really for much of this rally, David Chapman was on the ropes. Chris makes one mistake of hitting the ball to David's back wall strength, and David makes him pay for it right there, jamming him in the front court, leaving David with an opportunity to just pass the ball down the left-hand side of the court, and Chris gets tangled up in the back right corner.
That was quite instructive. Let's take another view of that.
Here's the back wall shot by David, and you can see he's looped his arm, and he pulls that ball right off the front wall, almost into Chris's chest. He's got nowhere to go with that shot, and David just walks up here and decides to give him a taxi ride to the backcourt.
Chapman uses a two-wall pass, such precision that it becomes almost like a kill shot for him. It's an automatic point almost.
I would imagine, James, that you can learn a few things yourself when you're playing David. Is that right?
Yeah, every time I take the court with Chapman, you learn something new about handball, and it kind of motivates you to improve your game and try and rise up and beat him next time, but usually it doesn't work out that way.
David is appealing this call. He felt that the ball took a bad bounce off of the door, and he does have the opportunity to appeal that play. and the two linesmen have to disagree with the referee in order for his call to be overturned. Looks like David lost that argument.
And here Chris is continuing to have trouble getting that first serve over.
Again, probably a sign of fatigue.
Handball is such a physically demanding sport that for them to be out there on the court for this long, it's going to take its toll eventually.
David is appealing now this second serve. He thinks that Chris double faulted here. Looks like Chris is trying to give him a head fake and sneak one down the right side, and that's awful close. I cannot tell whether that ball was good or not.
Of course, we have the benefit of slow-mo replay, which the referee does not. It's tough to make those calls. I sure wouldn't want to be refereeing this match.
Chris is so far behind here in this second game that in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking about saving himself for the tiebreaker, but it looks like he's still working hard and trying to win every rally.
Some confusion there. Chris wasn't sure whether that shot was a kill shot or a skip ball. Looks like it skipped into the front court for another point for David.
Another deep court kill with the left hand from Chris Russo. He's putting on an offensive show, but I think he's fallen too far behind in this game to make a run at it.
Excellent shot. You can see Chris had plenty of time to set his feet and pull the trigger on that shot.
As tired as Chris must be, he's certainly still playing a lot of offense.
Once again, his first serve does not meet with success. I think Chris really spent himself in that first game. Earlier, before the match began, we had a chance to talk with Vern Roberts of the U.S. Handball Association. We asked him about David's great gift as a handball player.
David's greatest gift is his court sense, his tremendous, he's a thinking man's handball player. He's always on top of the ball. He's tremendous anticipation, and his athletic ability, the strength of his athletic ability is in his hand quickness and his eye-hand coordination. He's got the surest hands probably to ever see a handball court.
We will be right back with the conclusion of game number 2 of the Men's Open Championship right after this.
Life demands some real determination. Some will stand and some will surely fall. And I've learned how to handle confrontation. Up against the wall, waiting for the shot, moving with the ball, and never giving less than all I've got. It's not about fad, it's not about fashion, it's not about fortune or fame. It's all about passion for playing the perfect game. What could be a purer proposition? What could be a truer test of skill? Nothing in the world of competition is equal to the thrill of serving up an ace or shooting for the kill and looking at the look on my opponent's face. It's not about fad, it's not about fashion, it's not about fortune or fame. It's all about passion for playing the perfect game.
And we're back with the conclusion of game number 2 of the USHA Men's Open Finals of our collegiates here. And Chris Rusing is serving to David Chapman. Once again, having trouble getting that first serve over.
Chris won the first game, and it was a very close game, but now David has opened up a big lead on Chris here in the second game. And David may be doing a little bit of rope-a-dope here. He's kind of keeping Chris on his feet, making him run quite a bit, get him good and tired for the tiebreaker.
Jonathan, have you ever seen a player like David Chapman in all your years in handball?
No, I haven't, because David does a lot of things that are very deceiving. He makes some shots in the front court with the flick of his wrist, where he can dump the ball into the front corner, and with the same motion, he can flip the ball over your head and send you running into the back court. And, it's really fun to watch him play.
Chapman looks like he's poised to wrap up this second game right here.
David is arguing here to the referee that he hit a good ceiling shot, which should have put Chris on the defensive, but it took a bad bounce off the ceiling and came down into an area that gave Chris a chance to shoot the ball. And I would agree with David, that ball did come down in a hurry, but again, David's going to lose that argument.
Another short ball by Rusing. Chapman just looks so in control at this point. He's directing the course of the rally. Everything that's going on in this rally is exactly what David Chapman wants.
Even got away with a shot there.
Rusing has to hit a 40-foot kill shot to get out of trouble.
That was quite an exciting rally. I don't think Chris was really looking forward to that. Not with the condition his legs must be in right now.
He's doing a lot of backpedaling. Again, we see a short serve.
Oh, that's 3 in a row for Chris, not being able to get that ball over. You'd think as hard as he hits that ball, he wouldn't have a problem.
Well, when you don't bend your back because you're tired, you don't execute the shot with the right fundamentals.
He's not bending his knee when he's leaning over to hit that serve like he was in the first game. Standing straight up, and he's trying to just use his upper body instead of his lower body to get it over the front line. Chapman's using this kind of quasi three-wall serve here. It starts out like a lob to the right, but ends up over in Rusing's left hand, and now Rusing's starting to make some errors.
16-7. David widening the lead.
If Rusing doesn't get on track here, he's going to have a hard time getting the momentum back at the beginning of the tiebreaker.
Chris wisely calling a timeout here, try and collect himself.
Here's David serving at 17-7.
Rusing's just even almost giving up on that ball. It was a ball that came up, it bounced. The second bounce was past the short line. He could have retrieved it, but he let it go. I think he's saving himself for the tiebreaker.
I think the crowd's saving themselves for the tiebreaker, too. I haven't heard too many of those Chris Rusing fans making any noise here in the last 10 minutes or so.
If you watch David Chapman play enough, you'll learn that he can silence a crowd in a hurry.
A rare hand error by David.
You don't see him make too many hand errors. that's one of the reasons he's such a successful handball player.
Very consistent.
Rusing's going to a lob serve here, something that he doesn't normally do.
Oops.
It's a double fault.
That's the first double fault of the match. Strange that he would have elected to do a lob serve at that time.
I think that's an indication that he's tired and he's making some poor decisions out there on the handball court.
That was a good decision.
Yeah, that was a pretty good decision. I think that's the kind of shot where Chris could hit that one in his sleep.
He's practiced hitting kill shots so much that some of them become automatic.
That was not one of Chris's better serves.
You can see the life kind of draining out of Rusing's play right here.
Interesting that David really hasn't changed his strategy since the beginning. He looks pretty much the same as he did during the first part of the first game, and here he is seemingly getting ready to close out the second game, and his strategy has been very consistent, and I think he's finally starting to wear Chris out.
David serving for game point. And there it is. 21-7. David Chapman over Chris Rusing in game number 2. We'll be back with a tiebreaker of the Men's Open Championship right after this.
Nothing in the world of competition is equal to the thrill of serving up an ace or shooting for the kill. And looking at the look on my opponent's face. It's not about fast, it's not about fashion, it's not about fortune or fame. It's all about passion for playing the perfect game. Just another weekend warrior, and handball isn't just another sport. So when the game of life begins to bore ya, meet me on the court. If you're ready to rebel, I'm happy to report that the world's oldest game is alive and well. It's not about fast, it's not about fashion, it's not about fortune or fame. It's all about passion for playing the perfect game.
And we're resuming play in the tiebreaker. Chris Rusing is ahead 1-0 as he serves to David Chapman.
It's important to get off to a quick start here in the tiebreaker because it is only an 11-point game and should be exciting. This is what the fans pay their money to see.
Chris Rusing thinks that Dave Chapman's get up in the front court took 2 bounces. Let's take a closer look.
Here we see Chris getting set, hitting it into the right front corner. David anticipating, making a diving get. Did he get to that ball before it bounced twice? Hard to see from that angle.
Tough to tell from that angle because David's hand was really shielding what we needed to see.
Well, fortunately, we have a front wall camera, which is going to show us exactly what happened, we hope. Here's Chris once again getting set for that shot into the right corner.
David diving up in front court. It looks like he just gets his hand underneath the ball for a legal get.
It's a good call by the referee.
That was an excellent call.
Chapman regains a serve. going to go to that quasi 3-wall that he hit at the end of the second game that was successful for him. Rusing makes a poor decision from deep court. His legs are kind of giving out on him, so he's trying to look for an easy way out of the point instead of taking the patient shot.
At this point in the game, I think both players' legs might be a little bit tired, but Chris seems to be showing it a little bit more than David.
Move ahead now to score 6-1, Chapman. He's mounted a big lead in the tiebreaker. Rusing's going to have to come back if he's going to win this match. What a great rally by Chapman in the front court. He hit a beautiful pass shot, and fans appreciate it.
Sort of hard to come back on David Chapman with a score of 7-1 in the tiebreaker. Let's see what Chris can do.
Rusing's in big trouble now. Chapman knows exactly what he has to do. He has to keep running Rusing. Chris is in big, big trouble. Another pass shot for Chapman, and looks like he's on the road to victory right here.
9-1. David can smell victory.
If David does close out this match, it'll be a historic achievement because he'll be the first player to win the open singles division of the men's intercollegiates 4 years.
Here he's serving for match point.
And there you have it, folks. The first 4-time winner of the men's open division of the USHA Collegiates, 22-year-old David Chapman, continuing to rewrite the record books. And that's it from the Royal Athletic Club in Burlingame, California. A historic end to a great match as David Chapman wins his 4th men's open division final of the USHA Collegiates. On behalf of my colleagues Jonathan Kendler and James Comstock, this is Ben Thum saying, see you next year.